Welcome back to the channel. Today we've got our 5 best bets for college basketball here on Thursday, January 30th. And yesterday, man, hey, we got back on the right track. All right, we've been saying it's a progressive, we're going to keep building up to better and better nights. And last night, that's exactly what we got. A 4-1 day on the channel. The only one that did not hit was Jacksonville at home against Florida Gulf Coast. They were up big early in that game, but FGCU came back and won it. Other than that, though, we swept the board last night, felt pretty good about it, closed it, obviously, with that Bama victory in Starkville and the victory for Boise State covering the 7.5, 6.5 points at home against Nevada. So all around a very good day. Shout out to both the UNC teams for cashing early in the day as well. So a 4-1 day on the channel, looking to build with that momentum here today with 5 more daily college basketball best bets. And folks, if you are enjoying the videos here on the channel and want to see more, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below and make sure to leave a like as well, as we will have our NBA predictions up on the channel here in a couple hours as well. There are 5 games in the association today. I got to witness Shai Gilgeous-Alexander score 52 points last night. Thunder didn't win, but we win because Shai looked great. All right. Stop glazing. Anyways, make sure to go check out our UFC predictions on the channel as well. UFC Saudi Arabia is this weekend on Saturday morning. Israel Adesanya and Nasruddin Imavov in the main event, again from the Kingdom of Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Okay, on to the first of our 5 best bets for today. We're going to start things off here with a spot I really like, okay? I understand why the odds are where they're at. This game's in Bowie's Creek, North Carolina, between the Campbell Camels and the William and Mary Tribe, and we've been taking the Tribe a lot, and we're going to continue to do that. Guys, William and Mary right now might be the second best team in the CAA. It depends on where you rank them in Townsend. I would still think UNC Wilmington, even though they don't have the best record in the CAA, is the best team in the conference. They lost early in conference play to Townsend, and Hofstra did the Seahawks of UNC Wilmington, but this has been an absolutely dominant team recently. We'll get to see them in William and Mary, I believe again coming up, right? At William and Mary eventually, but the Seahawks have been great this season. I still expect them to win the CAA if I'm being honest, but I do think either the second or third best team right now in the conference is the Tribe of William and Mary. They are a 7-1 team in conference with their only loss being on the road to those Seahawks of UNC Wilmington. Again, we'll see. When the Seahawks have to go to William and Mary, maybe the Tribe get them, but this is a spot where I find interesting. William and Mary are even with Campbell in this basketball game. The Camels 5-3 in conference, sure, and they are on a 3-game winning streak, beating Monmouth, beating Stony Brook on the road, and going to Hofstra and winning as well. But prior to that, back-to-back losses to Elon and Charleston. Maybe Charleston wasn't as good as I thought they were, but honestly, guys, the CAA, the top 4 teams in the CAA are all really good. Again, if I had to rank them, I'd probably go UNC Wilmington and William and Mary, Townsend, and Charleston. But again, those, 2 through 4 are really interchangeable. And again, UNC Wilmington right now is just playing hot. Who knows what happens towards the end of the year. Again, guys, this CAA tournament, this Final Four, which we're expecting to be those 4 teams, is going to be big. But then again, you can't forget about Elon, who's been all right this season. The Camels are always here as well, and the Drexel Dragons will have their nights as well. It's a really fun conference, honestly, and an underrated conference. And the Camels are getting even odds here at home against William and Mary, which I get, but at the same time, I do think the Tribe's just the better basketball team. I get it. Their only losses this year, I believe, all year long come on the road. I don't think they've ever lost at home this year. They lost to NC Central at home early this year. No, that was a non-conference. That was a neutral site game. So yeah, William and Mary has never lost at home this season. All their losses have come on the road. Radford, they went there and lost. NC State, App State, ODU, and UNC Wilmington have been their only losses this season. And I get that, but I do think they're the better basketball team. Gabe Dorsey has been playing incredibly well for the Tribe recently. This is a guy who averages 13 points a night. Noah Collier as well as averaging 12, and you get Kyle Pulliam, who's averaging 10 a night as well. For the Fighting Camels, I believe it was Colby Duggan, I think, in their last game, who went crazy, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Duggan, he's their guy every single night, but Duggan, I believe, scored 19 in the second half to propel the Camels to a victory. Duggan, again, averaging those 14 a night. You get Jason Siniani, who's averaging 13, Taryn Frank averaging 9, but again, it's going to be Colby Duggan, who's going to lead the Camels in scoring on a nightly basis. So again, you're going to get him, and you're going to get Gabe Dorsey being the 2 main scorers of both squads. I do just think, as a whole, though, the Tribe are the better basketball team. 1 loss in conference play this season, and it is a road loss to UNC Wilmington. It's dependent on, again, Dorsey and Collier, but I think the Tribe are the better defensive team as well, and they are able to put points on the board as well. We've seen them go on the road in CAA play, go and beat Hampton. We saw them go to Hofstra and beat them by 18 points, go to Stony Brook and win. Guys, their only conference loss this season is against the team that we think is the best in the CAA, of course, in the UNC Wilmington Seahawks. So I'm completely fine taking the Tribe here. I think the Camels are, I think they're getting I think they're getting benefit of the doubt because the game's at home. But again, coming off back-to-back 3 straight victories, there are good wins going to go into Hofstra and winning in overtime, but that's a team, again, at the same time, if you want to play common opponents, well, hey, William and Mary went to Hofstra and smacked them and didn't even play a competitive basketball game. I do think there are levels to this, if I'm being honest with you, and I think the Tribe are on a different level. Again, we talk about the 4 elite teams in the CAA, and I wouldn't put the Fighting Camels in that elite 4. Again, I think William and Mary right now is probably the 2nd or the 3rd best team in the conference. I think they prove that. I think they're able to go on the road here and beat Campbell, a team that has lost at home earlier this year in CAA play to Charleston. We think the Tribe right now is probably playing a little bit better than Charleston, so I'm going to take the William and Mary Tribe to go on the road to Campbell, win the basketball game. There's nothing we need to cover. We're going to take the straight money line here on William and Mary. I think they go to Campbell and to North Carolina and get the victory here again over the Campbell Fighting Camels. Let's move on to our second game. I've been waiting for this one for a while. It's a rivalry game, obviously. North Dakota, South Dakota, a huge basketball game. It's a big rivalry, obviously, in football. You saw them in the Final Four of the FCS playoffs last year in college football, game that North Dakota State did end up winning in Fargo. But now we go back to Fargo for North Dakota State and South Dakota State. And again, early in the year, non-conference play, I was hammering you guys every single day about how good the Jackrabbits are. I have laid off some. We have given the Jackrabbits time to win some basketball games, compile some wins, and I feel fine about them going to Fargo and beating their rivals up north. Okay? They started Summit League play, winning their first game against Denver. I'll be honest, Denver is not the best team. Ended up dropping back-to-back games to St. Thomas, Minnesota, and Omaha, but those are the 2 best teams right now in the Summit League. Omaha just lost their first game in the conference last night. But then South Dakota State since then, though, 4 straight wins. North Dakota victory at home, Oral Roberts victory at home at Kansas City, and then a win over South Dakota. This is by far their biggest game right now of the season. I know, again, they have lost back-to-back. They lost back-to-back games to start Summit League play, or I guess after the Denver win. But they lost by 1 point to St. Thomas, Minnesota, and Omaha. That's a tough place to play, and that's when Omaha, I think, was its hottest this season. I think they're going to cool down now after their first loss. But this is a big-time game. I mean, both teams are going to be fired up to play this one. This is a rivalry matchup that obviously gets played every single season. I think the Jacks are okay in this spot. They did, again, have a very tightly contested game in Kansas City that they won by 1 point. But if there was ever a game the Jackrabbits are going to overperform in, it's going to be this one. And I just feel like the Jackrabbits have been underperforming the entire season. This is not a bad basketball team. Oscar Clough has been one of the better players in the Summit League all year long. Clough's averaging 17.5 and 12.5 boards on a nightly basis. Joe Saylor's a guy who can shoot it. Kalen Gary as well. Saylor averaging 13, Gary averaging 12. Owen Larson has cooled down. Same thing can be said about Matthew Morris. But South Dakota State, they've got some hoopers on this team, man. They really do. For NDSU, a good basketball team, though, as well. Both the teams 5-2 this year in the Summit League. North Dakota State led by their star player in Jackson Money, who's averaging 20 points a night, 25-4 for the forward here, the senior forward for North Dakota State. He dropped 24-10 in the victory in their last game over the University of North Dakota. Then you also get their point guard in Jakari White. Got a chance to see again this entire North Dakota State team play earlier this season in Santa Clara, California, where they actually went on the road and didn't just cover against the Santa Clara Broncos. No, they won the basketball game. And shout out to Santa Clara, who let St. Mary's last night go on a 30-0 run against them. I kid you not. The Santa Clara Broncos went 15 straight minutes of game time without scoring a point. St. Mary's is that good defensively. I'm sold now on St. Mary's. There's a chance they can get Zaga in the West Coast Conference tournament this year. I'm just saying. Zaga looks so beatable this year. Again, yes, they're good in Spokane, but we'll see. Regardless, Jakari White's a good player. I got to see him in person. That guy can hoop. You get Mason Miller, their other guard, who's very good. It's a good North Dakota State team. You're not going to hear me say a bad word about the Bison nor the Jackrabbits. I like both these teams a lot out the Summit League. I think the Summit League is a sneaky, very good conference, of course, with North Dakota State, with South Dakota State, and obviously with the 2 top teams right now in the conference, who North Dakota State lost to both of them in St. Thomas, Minnesota, and Omaha. The difference between those games, though, North Dakota State got both those ones at home against St. Thomas, Minnesota, and Omaha. They lost both of them. South Dakota State played tightly contested games, and I'm not saying North Dakota State didn't do the same exact thing, because they did, but SDSU went on the road to play both those squads, and they lost by 1 point to St. Thomas, Minnesota, and I believe they lost by about 5 or 7 to Omaha. So, again, I don't want to completely compare common opponents, but just say South Dakota State, I thought, looked better in their games against those two top teams than what NDSU did. And I do think, again, the difference maker in this game is going to be Oscar Clough. When Oscar Clough decides to show up, and when Clough is that dominant force in the interior, he is difficult to stop in the Summit League. There aren't many pure better players in the Summit League and pure centers that are better than Clough. I mean, really. The guy's 6'11", he's 260, he is a big guy down there. He's Australian, if I'm not mistaken, right? I believe we've been over this, yeah. From Queensland, Australia, Oscar Clough, again, is a unit. He is. He was at Washington State last year. Now here he is at South Dakota State, and he's been the guy this season for the Jackrabbits. So I think everything kind of feeds off him, and it also, again, feeds off the guard play as well. Out of Joe Saylor, Kalen Gary, and again, we'll see what Owen Larson's able to do. Again, I know Larson hasn't been shooting as well as he was at the beginning of the season, but these are the guys, again, around Oscar Clough that's going to make up this team. I mean, again, Clough does lead South Dakota State in both points, rebounds, and assists and blocks this season as well. I mean, he's putting up a Cooper Flag type stat line here for the Jackrabbits, but the guy, again, is that, he's that impactful for the South Dakota State Jackrabbit squad. Again, for the Bison, I like this team too. I'm not going to say that I don't. I like Monty. I like White. I like these players. But I do think the Jacks are able to go in here and beat them. North Dakota State's victories this year in the Summit League are Oral Roberts, Denver, Kansas City, South Dakota, North Dakota. And sure, again, SDSU literally has the same exact wins because they're both 5-2. It's a big spot for both these teams. I just think the Jacks are better. I think the Jacks, again, are going to be able to shoot. I know they're going to be fired up to play this game because it is their rival. Not to say the Bison aren't going to be either. But again, I think the difference maker is Oscar Clough. I don't think North Dakota State's got anyone on their team that can stop Oscar Clough when he is on. I just don't think so. Again, they're going to put Jackson Monty on him. I know Monty can score. I don't know if he can stop Clough on the glass and when Clough wants to score inside. We'll see. Again, it can happen. I just think Oscar Clough personally wins that matchup for me, and that's the matchup that's going to make up this basketball game and decide the basketball game. We might see Noah Federson as well try to guard Clough. Again, he's their other forward down low. If that happens, I think Clough dominates, so I'd assume Monty's going to be on it. But actually, Federson's better on defense, so we'll see. We'll see what North Dakota State decides to do. But it's going to be a tough puzzle for them to solve here against South Dakota State. And ultimately, again, that's why I think the Jackrabbits get it. So give me South Dakota State on the road here in Fargo, North Dakota. And I think they take care of business in a huge Summit League matchup against the North Dakota State Bison. Let's move on to our next game as we go to the Big Ten. You knew we had to get some of our Big Ten matchups in today. The only one, obviously, today that we're going to be going over. Actually, no, we do have another one. You'll understand why I forgot the last game was a Big Ten game. There's only one other one today. I mean, guys, does Oregon and UCLA sound like a Big Ten matchup off the top of your head? I mean, just come on. I just forget that's a Big Ten game sometimes. Anyways, we're going to get to that in a little bit. We've got a game in between this one and obviously that game, but Illinois versus Nebraska. I'm going to take the Fighting Illini on the road to cover the 3.5 points because Nebraska's been absolutely horrible. I wanted to believe in Nebraska this season. I wanted to believe in them a lot when they went to the Hawaiian Airlines Invitational in Hawaii. They won that tournament, beating Murray State, Hawaii, and then Oregon State. They beat the best team in the SWAC, which I get's not the most impressive, but they beat Southern, and they go beat UCLA to kick off Big Ten play when UCLA was still ranked. And hell, that's a victory that keeps on aging better and better. And trust me, again, we're going to talk a lot about the UCLA Bruins to close out this video because right now I'm just sold on UCLA, and I'll tell you why, obviously. And we've been picking UCLA a lot recently. We picked both of their last two games, and we're doing it again today. But Nebraska, man, just 6 straight losses after beating UCLA, losing at Iowa, losing at Purdue, losing to Rutgers, losing at Maryland, losing to USC, and then going to Madison, Wisconsin, and losing by 28 points to the Wisconsin Badgers. It's been just a disgusting display of basketball for the Cornhuskers. It just, again, last year was it feels like just, a dream at this point from what last year was compared to now, obviously, with the Tominaga magic for the Cornhuskers. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, right, it's the bottom 4 in the Big Ten don't make the Big Ten tournament. Well, right now, that's looking like that's going to be Washington. No surprises there. Nebraska. And then right now, Minnesota and Northwestern are going to be the other two. And depending on, how the tiebreakers work, obviously, with Penn State, because they are 3-7 as well in the Big Ten. I'm okay taking Illinois minus 3.5. I get they're going on the road, but guys, every team has gone on the road to Nebraska, and they have covered this line. Oh, Rutgers didn't, but I mean, that's Rutgers. Guys, Illinois is better than Rutgers, okay? So let's just compare this. Okay, yeah, I know Nebraska beat UCLA to kick off Big Ten play. Don't care. They beat Indiana as well. Well, Indiana, okay, for as bad as Indiana is now, they were much worse back in November, I think, personally, than where they're at now. And again, I don't believe in the Hoosiers at all right now, but they were disgusting earlier on in the season. And the difference is as well, Nebraska was playing much better basketball to start the year. This is a team that went to Creighton and won earlier in the season in non-conference play. So it wasn't really a shock that they beat Indiana at home. Hell, we had Nebraska to cover, I believe it was like 5.5 points in that game because, Indiana wasn't playing all that hot. Nebraska was. At the time, it didn't feel like a bad pick. Guys, the Cornhuskers at one point in this season were 12-2. After they beat UCLA, they were 12-2, 2-1 in Big Ten play. Now they're 12-8 and 2-7 in Big Ten play. They've struggled to get production anywhere really, except for Bryce Williams. Juwan Gary's been that second scorer, but I don't know. It's really just been Bryce Williams carrying the load for the Huskers. And then for the Fighting Illini, didn't think they were going to cover their last game. I'll be honest with you. I didn't think I thought Northwestern was going to be able to cover that game on the road. And it was weird because Jacunius only had 11 points in that game. So you're thinking, all right, Ivisic out, Jacunius not having a great night. Well, it turned out to be Killian Boswell, their junior point guard who averages 12.5 points a game. He led them in scoring with 17, but a 17, 6, and 4 night. Again, Boswell's been really good recently for the Fighting Illini. I mean, he's the third guy on this Illinois team that obviously, again, behind Jacunius and behind Ivisic. And obviously, Ivisic, I only assume, is still out with mono. I would think for a couple more weeks probably, but they looked fine, honestly, without him. How they were blowing out Northwestern most of that game. It's just in the end, the Wildcats stormed back and they were trying to cover. I think it was 8.5 and they lost the game by 9. We were right there with the Northwestern backdoor cover. I mean, again, didn't deserve to cover at all, but Northwestern was just clawing back at the end of the basketball game. I think Illinois gets Nebraska here. Again, with Ivisic or not, obviously Ivisic not playing this basketball game, I just think Illinois is the better basketball team. I get it. They had lost 2 in a row before the Northwestern game, but that was Michigan State and then Maryland. Sometimes the Terrapins can get you. They're one of those teams that, like, some nights they look great, some nights they look absolutely horrible. Nebraska's just looked straight up horrible recently, though. That's just the difference. Nebraska has not been good. So I'm going to take Illinois to go on the road and beat them here. 3.5 point favorites in the road. I like that. I do think Illinois wins this game by about 8 points. It's just, again, Nebraska has not been playing that hot a ball. You compare that to their last home game that was played at Nebraska when they lost to USC. USC beat them by 5. Guys, USC is nowhere near the level of Illinois. We just saw that recently with USC's game against UCLA, and we've seen it all year long with USC. I think Illinois is a much better team than SC. I know they lost to them at home, but right now Illinois is a better team than USC. Right now, I think. Yeah, I still think Illinois is better than SC. Even though, again, the USC win at Illinois doesn't really help my case there. But I mean, it didn't look good in the UCLA game. Lost to Wisconsin at home by 15 points. Even if you want to say USC and Illinois at the same level, well, USC did cover this line when they went to Nebraska. So, and also, okay, hear me out. Nebraska's playing worse now than they were at the USC game. I know it's only been one game since, but I mean, guys, losing takes a toll. So, regardless, give me the Illinois Fighting Illini to go on the road to Nebraska, win the basketball game, and cover the 3.5 points as well. Let's move on to our 4th game of the night. Again, we will return to the Big Ten to close out the video, but first, let's head on down to the Big West, as we've got the Cal Poly Mustangs going on the road to Bakersfield, California to take on the Cal State Bakersfield Roadrunners. So shout out to Cal Poly finally winning a game in their last one, all right? We did bet against them with the Long Beach State Beach. Devin Askew gave it his all. I thought Cal Poly was going to choke that basketball game, I'm not going to lie. Long Beach got off to a horrendous start, but they kept on, inching closer and closer as the game moved on. They cut the lead to 6 at one point. I think it was Askew who got an and one. I don't think it was Askew. I forget who it was on the beach who got. Askew, by the way, had 35 points in that game. Who was it? I don't think it was Wainwright. I think it was Cam Martin, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was. Oh, it might have been Austin Johnson. I think it was Austin Johnson. Austin Johnson, again, Long Beach State's down by 3. This is like with 4 minutes to go, 5 minutes to go. They're down by 6, They get a steal. Askew, pass it to Austin Johnson. Johnson goes up for the and one. He gets it. They call, on the floor, it's, foul and one. But the referees eventually overturned the call. I don't know how. They huddled up and had a little meeting. Okay, we're not going to give the Beach the points. It's going to remain a 6-point game. It's just a side out instead. What happens? Askew turns it over on that possession. Cal Poly runs it down the court. They hit a three. The game swings from potentially being a 3-point game with 4 minutes to go. You're thinking, oh crap, Cal Poly's pissing down their leg because they haven't won a conference game since 2022 to, oh, now they're up by 9. I mean, it was a monumental call. Obviously, no one's going to talk about that because it's Long Beach State and Cal Poly, but that's why I'm here, guys. I actually sat there on a Saturday and watched the Long Beach State Beach play Cal Poly, and I'm telling you, Long Beach got screwed. So what I'm telling you now is that Cal Poly's not putting back-to-back impressive performances together. They're not going to Bakersfield and winning this basketball game. I don't care how unimpressive the Roadrunners have been this season, because trust me, last time we bet on the Roadrunners, it was horrible when they went to Hawaii and, again, completely pissed down their leg over there in Honolulu. Don't care. Cal State Bakersfield is better than Cal Poly. Guys, don't forget, again, this is the same Cal Poly team that lost 30 straight games plus in the Big West. Okay, one victory at home against Long Beach State, who isn't that good, is not all that impressive. Okay, sure, again, it was a game that they were favored to win. We took the Beach plus 5.5 in that game. Unfortunately, it didn't hit. I did take halftime line plus 10.5, plus 9.5 for the Beach. Shout out to Devin Askew with a completely garbage time layup at the end of the basketball game, pretending like he was going to dribble it out, and he just literally, as the time expires, he went up for a garbage time layup to cover our live spread. Thank you, Devin Askew, for your 35 points and contributions. Anyways, Cal Poly's not winning back-to-back basketball games, guys. Just, they're not. Owen Kuntz isn't bad. He's the best player on this Cal Poly team. He's their best scorer. He averages 17 and 5. You get Jared Hyder, who's averaging 14 as well. He scored 19 in the victory over the Beach. Isaac Jesup, he can get it done as well with 11. But I just think the Roadrunners are the better basketball team. Jamel Jones is going to be the best player on the court. I mean, yeah, again, Kuntz can score, but no, Jamel Jones is the best player on this basketball court tonight. On top of that, I like Corey Stevenson, who's able to, he's a guard, but he's able to crash the boards. He's able to drive effectively, and he can shoot it as well. Marvin McGee is not horrible as well. I think the Roadrunners are the better team. You're going to see some minutes down low from Okariki sometimes, I believe, who's their small forward, who sometimes plays down low for them. Both these teams don't really use, their bigs all that much, which is fine. You're probably going to see a high-scoring game, but I just think the Roadrunners outrun Cal Poly in this basketball game. Guys, Cal Poly is not winning back-to-back games. They went 2.5 years without winning in the Big West. They're not going to take 4 days to win back-to-back games. Okay? It took them 2.5 years to win one. It's not going to take them 4 days to win another. Okay, it's gonna take a while. They'll probably win another game this year. I'm not gonna lie. They still got Fullerton twice on the schedule. They'll probably split with Fullerton. That's really the only game I can see them winning. Maybe when they host Cal State Bakersfield. But with this game being at Bakersfield, I think the Roadrunners get it. Give me Jamel Jones and the Cal State Bakersfield Roadrunners to win this basketball game at home and cover the 3.5 points as well. We go on to our final game of the night. We go to Los Angeles, California for the UCLA Bruins from the Pauley Pavilion taking on the Oregon Ducks. Yes, UCLA is a 4.5-point favorite at home here against the Ducks. Obviously the 16th ranked Ducks, but do the Ducks really deserve to be ranked at this point? Probably not. Yeah, give me UCLA. Give me UCLA. I don't think Bilodeau's back yet. I'm prepared for Bilodeau not to play this basketball game. That's fine. We got a Mara. Dude, Mara's so good, man. Really, a Mara, 7'3", 7'4" center from Spain. He's a sophomore. The guy's absolutely killing it. I mean, this guy can get you 4 blocks in one game. He can. They've been playing him more minutes. He still only averages 11 minutes a night so far this season because he started the year playing 1 minute, 2 minutes in garbage time. No, Mara is actually getting minutes now. And this guy, again, I said this guy was the difference maker in the last couple games for UCLA, and that's exactly what he's been. Once they started playing this guy, Wisconsin game, 22 points in 21 minutes. 5 boards. UW game, 12 points, 7 boards, 5 blocks in the UW game. The USC game, 12 points, 11 boards, 5 blocks. I've been telling you guys, Mara is that guy. He is. So Tyler Bilodeau's out. That sucks. He's been their best player all year at UCLA. Well, hell, Mara is the best guy now for the Bruins. Even when Bilodeau comes back, yeah, they're just going to play these guys at the same time. They're going to have to. Mara, an actual center, is a monster for UCLA. And now again, There's so many, I've been saying this about UCLA, but it's the same narrative that remains. There's so many talented players in the UCLA Bruins. Eric Daly, Sebastian Mack, Kobe Johnson, Dylan Andrews, Sky Clark, Laser Stefanovic. Those are all names that have been around college basketball for a while, or names that people know in college basketball. It only takes a couple of these guys, or hell, one or two really, that's what a couple is, but still, to go off and have really successful nights for UCLA to win. I think, again, the Bruins they've figured it out recently. And no coincidence that they've won every single game that Adai Mara has actually played big minutes in. He's a difference maker, guys. You can't drive against this guy. So I want to see, it's going to be a fun matchup tonight. Let's see what happens against Nate Biddle. Let's see. Let's see what happens when Nate Biddle takes on Adai Mara. Biddle has been severely underwhelming recently. Back-to-back games, he's been horrible. 28 minutes, 7 points against UW. And then the Minnesota game, he puts up a goose egg. 0 points in 24 minutes. Yeah, this team just lost at Minnesota. I get it. The Gophers are playing better. Shout out Dawson Garcia. But still, this team just lost at Minnesota. They're not going to UCLA and winning. And I'm telling you, Nate Biddle's going to get bitched. He's going to get bitched in this game. He's the much older player, sure. He's got way more experience. Adai Mara has just been playing better, though. And Adai Mara has 3.5 inches on him. Pause. In height. I think Adai Mara wins that matchup. I'm serious. Jackson's shell stat has been all right, but there's been too many inconsistencies with the Ducks shooting and the Ducks scoring. Bamba can score, Brandon Angel can score, but again, it's just too inconsistent for my liking. I think UCLA's got the pieces to win this game, and again, it's been that Bruins defense recently, and obviously, again, that's because of Adai Mara. You saw what happened when Oregon went to Minnesota. All right, Nate Biddle's not able to score. What happens? They lose. Because Biddle, again, this guy who averages 14 points a night, he's their leading scorer. If he's scoring 0, yeah, the Ducks are SOL. You know, I'm taking UCLA in this spot. Again, I think the difference maker is Adai Mara. This team's only going to get better when Tyler Bilodeau comes back as well, because now you're going to have Bilodeau and Adai Mara. Now, Bilodeau is not going to be fighting for his life down low against some of these centers anymore because of the minutes now they're giving Mara. Guys, don't let this UCLA team get hot, because they're hot right now. This is a team that, if they can keep putting together some victories, maybe they can get their at-large spot. I know they already beat Oregon earlier in the year. They beat Gonzaga as well. UNC lost. I mean, lost to Mexico. I think they're on the bubble, right? They might be in right now. No, they gotta be in right now. Regardless, I like UCLA a lot right now. I think they're playing hot. It's a team you don't want to see. And there's a huge matchup next Tuesday. If UCLA can beat Oregon, which we are expecting them to, and we are expecting them to cover the line, we're going to pick up, on Tuesday with a huge matchup with Michigan State at UCLA. If UCLA wins that game at home, my goodness. And it's a shame that this place is going to be half empty at the Pauley Pavilion tonight up in the Los Angeles Hills, but it is what it is. Give me the UCLA Bruins on Fox Sports 1 to beat the Oregon Ducks and cover the 4.5 points as well. Again, guys, Adai Mara is an absolute game changer. So give me the Bruins at home against Oregon. And folks, that'll do it for our 5 best bets for January 30th. If you have not yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you do disagree with any of the picks. Make sure to join us again in a couple hours for our NBA predictions as well. Folks, thank y'all for watching, and Mamba forever.